Okay, so what is first? Let us relation function say. The first thing to know is what is domain. Domain is basically all those values of x such that fx is real. Fx is a real number. So domain is basically all those values of x. So for example, all those values of say x such that fx is a real quantity. So and similarly in the other cases also we have to find out the values of x. If the range we have to find out the values of x such that these functions they are real numbers. The first one is pretty basic. Fx equals to x plus 4. Here domain will be real number, all real number, all real numbers, because whatever value of x you take, it will always be a real number. If you take 5, if you take minus 5, if you take 10, if you take minus 100, if you take 1000, any value of x will be a real number. And a real number is basically any number. Real number is basically any number that can be expressed in the form p by q, where q is not equals to 0. Because if denominator is 0, then it will not be a real number. That is the concept of real numbers, where where the number can be expressed in p by q form. So even 4 is a real number because 4 is 4 by 1, where q is not equals to 0. So basically q, real number, is that kind of number where the denominator is never 0. Because if the denominator is 0, suppose if denominator is 0, then it will be infinity. 1 by 0 is infinity. No matter how many times you divide 1 by 0, whatever value you put, 3, 4, 5, whatever value you put, when it is multiplied by 0, it is always 0. So therefore it will not yield a negative, therefore it will not yield a normal result at all. Even if you multiply 1000 into 0, it will still be 0. So therefore 1 by 0 does not give an exact value. It does not give a proper value. In the case of 4 by 2, you have a exact value of 2. Here you have an exact value of 2, because when 2 is multiplied with 2, it gives 4 and the remainder is 0. But here when you divide any number by 0, no matter what number you use as the quotient, it will the multiplication of these two numbers will always be 0. So whatever number you put, it will always be 0, and therefore remainder will always be 1, and therefore it is not divisible only. So there will be no exact value, even and that is why it is called as infinity. Because no matter what value you put, there will be no answer. That is why it does not, since it does not give us a real value, that is why 1 by 0 or any number divided by 0 is not considered a real number. So that is the whole concept of real number. And in domain we have to find all those values of x, such that fx is a real number. So we have to find all those values of x. So in number 2, fx equals to 1 by 4 minus x square. So since we know that we have for fx to be a real number, 4 minus x square cannot be equal to x, it cannot be equal to 0, because then it will be 1 by 0, which is not a real number. So therefore now we can rewrite it as this. Divide both sides by 0, divide both sides by minus 1, sorry. 0 by minus 1 is 0 only. Now a square minus b square is a plus b into a minus b. So now we know that, and sorry, let me rephrase my sentence. We know that the multiplication of these two numbers is not 0. So either x is minus 2 or x is 2. In both cases, it will not give us a real number. X cannot be 2 or minus 2 in both, because minus 2 or 2 whole square both give us 4 only, and 4 minus 4 is 0. So 2 or minus 2, these two numbers, they both can't be taken as the domain of the function. So therefore the domain of this function is all real numbers except 2 and minus 2. If you take any other value of x, suppose for example you take 5 square will give you 25. 4 minus 25 is minus 21. Minus 21, 1 by minus 21 is minus 1 by 21, which is a real number only. It is not anything complex. So that is why the domain can be taken as all real numbers, but excepting 2 and minus 2. Because when we take 2 and minus 2, then this equation then 4 minus x square becomes 0, which should not be the case for fx to be real. So that is why domain cannot be 2 and minus 2.